Hello and welcome to The Ticket, the podcast where we explore the cutting edge of customer service and support. I'm Beth-Ann Sher, Senior Knowledge Manager here at Intercom. In today's episode, we're taking a closer look at a role that's becoming increasingly vital in the customer support landscape, the conversation designer. Joining us is Fred Walton, our very own conversation designer at Intercom. Fred brings a wealth of experience, including his time as a consultant at IBM, to optimize the end-to-end support experience for our customers. Today, we'll dive into what a day in the life of a conversation designer looks like, challenges and opportunities in this emerging role, and how it's shaping the future of customer support. So, Fred, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Okay, so let's start with the basics. What exactly does a conversation designer do? And how does this role fit into the larger customer support ecosystem at Intercom?
Great question. So at its core, a conversation designer focuses on crafting engaging dialogue flows that provide a seamless and natural conversation within the messenger or with whatever chatbot user interface you may be using. So enhancing the user experience is really key to what a conversation designer aims to do. Ensuring that the automated support channels, such as chatbots, provide a seamless and satisfying experience, reducing the user frustration while also increasing user satisfaction, ultimately delivering a great customer experience. With the introduction of AI, the user experience now leverages natural language processing, machine learning capabilities, and large language models, which further enhance these interactions. Intercom lead with an AI-first methodology, so for the majority of experiences that customers see when they are sending a question within the messenger, the first response will likely be from Finn, our AI answer. We've done this to improve the speed of responses to the customer, while also hopefully increasing the resolution for those specific questions that they have. Part of the role is hugely dependent on testing and optimizing and using data-driven improvements. So conducting user testing to identify issues in existing conversational flows, also analyzing conversation data, such as success rates and drop-off rates, to continually optimize and improve the customer experience. Intent recognition optimization is also key. As I mentioned, we're Fin first at Intercom, so the first response is from an AI answer. So we want to ensure that the AI answers and also the product area classification when we are triaging those conversations is working as expected. This allows us to identify and tailor each experience for each customer, while also being able to identify knowledge gaps with our content. Essentially ensuring that it is continuously improved and up to date for future conversations. User-facing conversations are just one step in the customer's larger journey, which is also ongoing in the background too. So we have background automation, which populates areas such as data attributes, applying SLAs for teammates, and also tagging conversations for reporting as well.
Cool. So as a conversation designer, you also have to design conversations in a way that makes AI agents and chatbots more helpful and natural. Can you give us some tips for how you do that?
Yes, certainly. So I would say it's always important to start with an initial idea and to iterate and improve on that idea, while also testing where acceptable. So as I mentioned, we are AI first at Intercom, but if you're looking to adopt AI, I would start small. Test with a specific segment and see how those customers are reacting to AI answers, or having that small siloed data as a basis to further improve any content gaps that you may identify, and also assess how long until you could roll out AI adoption to more customers. A user-centric design is key. So begin by understanding who your customers are, what they need, and the context in which they are interacting with your chatbot. Tailor the conversations to address their specific pain points, goals, and also emotions as well. Persona development is also key. So creating a clear persona for the chatbot that aligns with your brand's voice and also user expectations. And having this consistent across all channels is extremely important. So regardless if they're coming through a specific workflow which may start on a website, whereas if something is a bit more proactive and the chatbot actually reaches out to the customer, ensuring the brand's voice is consistent makes the experience for the customer a whole lot better. Implementing robust error handling as well is key. So we have to anticipate the mishandlings. AI answers may not always be correct, and also workflows and triaging may also not be correct in some instances. So designing a fallback response for when the bot doesn't understand the user's input is key. These should be helpful and guide the customer back on track without making them feel frustrated and eventually dropping off.
Now, in support, we know that conversations are just one step in a customer's larger journey. So can you explain how you approach designing these conversations to ensure they align with that entire customer journey?
So I did touch on a bit around the consistency across all channels. So I can explain how we've done this within Intercom. So making sure that we had a consistent expected reply time at the end of each endpoint for customers was extremely key. Allowing customers to understand when they can expect a response from a teammate provides them with that assurance that someone will get back to them, and they now have the space to provide any additional information that they may choose to do so, which could help the teammate with further context, which then in essence helps the teammate provide a great first response to those customers. Also having consistency with the number of clicks within a workflow and the quick action buttons. So if we looked at potentially improving how many clicks a customer has to go through before getting assigned, we want to make sure that we don't exceed a certain amount, because what we've seen at Intercom is a number of customers actually drop off after a certain amount of clicks, which isn't great for the user experience because clearly the customer is frustrated and could just brute force their way through to a teammate and end up leaving a negative CSAT score. Also, consistency with the tone of voice of the chatbot is great. I talked about the brand's persona, but having the tone of voice be professional across the board or a bit more friendly, whatever suits your brand and your company, having that consistent across all channels is extremely important. It's also important to be mindful of the end-to-end customer journey. So being able to identify the customer's question, to place them with the correct product area, and ultimately have touch points along the way to assign them to the correct team is key to ensure that the customers are always getting the correct and most efficient responses from the team that specializes in those certain product areas. It's also important to ensure changes made to any workflows don't affect existing internal automations in place. So having a change management record or a change log of everything that's been made, a version history of different changes is key to always pinpoint if something does go wrong, you know how to roll back to a previous state.
All right. Yeah, it's a lot to think about. And I know recording the changelog has really helped us with the different people that are involved in that customer journey. So getting down to specifics now. What does a typical day in the life look like for you as a conversation designer at Intercom? How do you prioritize your tasks and responsibilities?
So this really does change depending on the week or day to day. But generally, when I come to the office or open my laptop to get started with work, I start off by reviewing any comments left by geo-distributed teammates who I work with. So overnight, I could have comments from teammates in Sydney or in America. Some of these could be just feedback on any improvements that could be made to workflows or some serious issues with an outage or an issue with internal automation which isn't working as anticipated. So depending on the type of comments left by teammates will really shape the initial tasks I do within that morning and how I prioritize them throughout the day. So generally, as a team, we work with cycle goals, focusing on key transformational projects to continuously re-envision our Intercom setup and the product roadmap that the team at Intercom have put forward. And we're always looking to include new capabilities within our workflows with AI answers to always improve the user experience that our customers have. As I mentioned, with reacting to any comments made by teammates, this space is extremely reactive. It can be caused by a number of issues with outages. There could be changes made to workflows which then impact existing workflows and how that influences what maybe a visitor sees compared to what a logged in user sees. So depending on the severity of the issue that I have to react to, that will potentially shift whether I'm focusing on the transformational project or whether I need to escalate these reactive tasks that have been raised to me. We're always looking to continuously improve this space, and we've set up Intercom tickets that allow anyone within Intercom to raise a ticket directly to me, which will outline potentially an existing customer conversation where a background automation may not have worked, or potentially there's some user frustration with an existing workflow. And with these tickets, I review them. I can set a priority and a due date and put these into my roadmap and allows time and space for me to review and essentially improve the experience, leave comments to the initial teammate who raised the ticket to me, and work in a collaborative motion to improve the end-to-end experience for those customers. I collaborate a lot with product engineers and R&D. I'm in the product every day, so I notice some issues or some areas of improvement that will not only help me in my day-to-day use of the product, but also our customers as well. So collaborating with the team and raising any bugs or improvements and suggestions is always key to continuously improve Intercom as a whole. Also, another key element is reviewing Fin performance. As I mentioned before, we are AI first, so we lead with Fin. So as Fin is your first point of call when asking a question in Messenger, we can either resolve that conversation or hand that conversation over to a teammate. So we're always looking at improving that resolution rate while also looking for further improvements to that involvement rate as well, to make sure more of our customers will see Fin within the Messenger. For anything where Fin is not performing well, we will review those, take a sample size, and feedback any information to the product team, machine learning team, or the knowledge team for any potential gaps within our content. Overall, there's a lot of different elements to the role, and the general tasks day to day do change depending on things that have happened in the week or what's on the weekly roadmap myself to meet those cycle goals.
That's great. No day really is the same. And with the rise of AI and automation in customer support, how do you balance the use of bots and automated workflows with the need for that human interaction in customer service?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we lead with Fin first. So AI answers is always first for the majority of experiences. When we're utilizing AI for tasks that are repetitive, straightforward, and can be resolved quickly to provide customers with the most efficient answer as soon as possible, while also freeing up the time for our teammates to deal with more complex and specific questions customers may have. While we do lead with AI first, we do understand that a human touch is required for certain conversations, and we want to make that transition from AI to human as seamless as possible. So while we have actually been integrating some technical documentation with Fin, there are always areas where it's better suited for a human to problem solve. So passing to a human where possible is something we do aim to be seamless, and we try to set our teammates up for success when they are being assigned a conversation. So we use bots to triage the conversation to that teammate while asking specific product area questions along the way, asking for additional context that will help the teammate before assigning the customer over to that teammate. By doing this, it allows for more context for the teammate, less time identifying the actual issue or investigating the issue, and helps the teammate to provide a quicker and a better first-time response to all of our customers.
You've talked a lot about the user experience, and I can see that user experience mapping is a key part of your role. Can you walk us through how you create a seamless and intuitive experience for users interacting with our support systems?
Yes, certainly. So we spun up a new focus on how we assign customers to teams within Intercom sometime last year, and it's called skill-based routing. So we've set up multiple different teams which have different teammates assigned to those team inboxes who specialize within those certain product areas and question types. So these are things such as, reporting questions or technical questions, generally anything to do with the products within Intercom. So once we had those set up, we then work backwards from that and assess how we can actually get the customer assigned to those specific team inboxes. Working back from that allowed us to assess how many questions we needed to ask, which would set these teammates up for success with those certain product area questions, but also lead on from Finn and the post-AI answer experience. Now, as I mentioned, we do identify that a lot of conversations that customers have may need a human touch, or although Finn may have provided a great answer, they just want a bit more reassurance from a human. So what we did was, after working back from the team inboxes and having those set up, we put forward some different topic areas on those specific product areas and those team inboxes and what would be assigned to those team inboxes. We then allowed for the triaging process to work seamlessly, being able to identify the product area that the customer question was about, be able to clarify whether this is the correct product area. So we are ensuring that we are actually assigning the conversation or triaging the customer's conversation to the right product area. Because there's nothing worse than the chatbot identifying the wrong product area without allowing the customer to self-serve and self-declare which product area they actually want to discuss. So if it's a happy path and the customer has been talking about a product type such as articles, we would use the topic, reporting topic identification to look at certain keywords and help to play that back to the customer. So we would say, hey, looks like you want to talk about articles, but then give the response as, is that true or is that correct? Yes or no. So we're giving the customer that opportunity to say, yes, I do want to speak about this product area, or no, this isn't quite correct. But if it's a happy path and they say yes, we then triage them into that specific articles product area, potentially asking a few questions depending on how we map this out when working back from the team inbox. And then we would assign these customers to that team inbox. Now, if the customer did say no to that product area classification we've got in place, this leads on from what I mentioned before about having a designed fallback for these experiences. So in these use cases, we then have a sort of generic approach where we list out a few different product areas within Intercom and allow the customer to seamlessly click which product area they are looking to discuss. And then it helps get that conversation back on track. We can then ask a few more additional conversation questions or quick action reply buttons for then assigning to the team. And this ensures that all teammates and team inboxes are assigned conversations which relate to the actual customer conversation, which provides an end-to-end experience that is beneficial for both the customer and also the teammates who are responding to the customer.
And how do you go about collecting and interpreting customer feedback to refine and improve the conversations and workflows that you design?
Yep. So with Finn Answers, we include Finn CSAT. So this is a great tool to have a metric based on how well Finn is performing for our customers and how our customers are reacting to Finn's answers. So this gives a 1 to 5 rating or the emoji rating, depending on how happy they were with Finn's answers. And if the customer has rated this negatively, we can use Intercom reporting to assess the number of conversations rated negatively each week. And then we can review manually or take a sample size of those negative conversations and assess why was Finn's answer incorrect, or why did the customer react negatively to this Finn answer, but also assess whether there's knowledge gaps, whether there's an issue with machine learning, or whether we actually need to extend the capabilities of our workflows and identify any issues such as bugs or feature requests, and potentially feed that into Finn and allowing Finn to take the action to identify those sorts of questions as well. We also have teammate Slack channel notifications. We've got a lot of great teammates who love to provide feedback on how well Fin is performing and also workflows. So we have a Slack channel where teammates can raise specific conversation IDs and also suggest improvements there as well, which I can review. I mentioned before we have tickets in place where anyone within the company can raise a ticket, which will be assigned to me directly, and then I can prioritize depending on the level of severity. And also reviewing conversations. I continually review Fin conversations just to see how well Fin is performing and if there's any improvements that can be made across the board.
Wow. So with all this feedback, then problem solving seems to be a significant part of your responsibilities. Can you share maybe an example of a challenging obstacle you encountered in the customer journey and then how you resolved it?
Yeah, certainly. So with the number of product releases that Intercom roll out each year, there are always some customers who are not on the correct subscription plan, or they may see something different to what other customers should be expected to see. So using data attributes to ensure customers see the right content from Fin was essential for us rolling out specific product releases. There's nothing worse than Fin or an AI answer giving you a response which isn't correct and doesn't actually align to what your subscription plan is or what you are expected to be able to do within the product. We had to make sure that the correct data attributes were aligned and applied to the correct customers, which we could then use within the Knowledge Hub to assign to specific content sources within the Help Center, but also within the workflow as well. So using conditional branches, we could use that same data attribute to make sure that that customer experience would or would not see certain product areas as a self-declaration option to choose from, to make sure that we weren't providing any incorrect information or referring to a certain product area as something that was a new name for that product. So we always wanted to make sure that there was no issues with the customer experience, that all these intricacies were aligned to those correct customer data attributes, just to generally make sure that everything was aligned and could be signed off by the product team, and we were happy with the release of this new product. We also rolled out a workflow audit this year. I mentioned previously about making sure that it's important to have the correct number of clicks and have a consistency with the number of clicks a customer can expect to select throughout an end-to-end journey. Intercom ourselves had a number of different clicks for a number of different experiences, which wasn't a great experience for customers. This often led to negative reviews and also frustrated customer experiences. So another problem-solving element within the role was actually carrying out a workflow audit. Now, I mentioned previously about having consistency with all button clicks within a workflow experience before they get handed over to a teammate. Within Intercom, we had a number of different button clicks depending on different experiences, and this wasn't consistent across the board. So what we did was we created an as-is to-be analysis to assess all the workflows which caused friction and created a negative experience for customers, and we updated them. We had a view of the number of clicks per workflow. We worked and collaborated with teammates who speak to customers on a daily basis, and we collaborated to assess which questions were needed and which weren't needed. We then worked back from what was existing and reduced the number of clicks end to end. And we had a consistent view now across the board where we now have no more than 4 clicks where possible for all customer experiences. Also, setting the correct expected reply times and having consistency here was a big problem to be solved because of the number of different intricacies and how different workflows were set up. There was no continuous workflow set for each endpoint. What we did was we created a reusable workflow, which is the workflow that only applies the expected reply time, and we applied that to all endpoints for all different workflows. Now, this did take a while to do because we have a number of different workflows with different endpoints, but the outcome of doing this is ensuring that every endpoint, regardless of which channel a customer comes through or which workflow they interact with, will have the same expected reply time reusable workflow triggered at the end. This makes sure that regardless of which team inbox you're assigned to, you'll always get that expected reply time block. But that reply time will be different because the reply time maps to the team inbox. I was already getting a bit confusingly explaining this. Setting it up and aligning with different product teams and collaborating with them allowed for this successful new improvement to be rolled out. And it's had a great impact to customer interactions with not only Fin, but also workflows as well.
So earlier you mentioned how we use skill-based routing to help both the customer and employee experience. Can you elaborate on how you design workflows that do this and give us some more examples?
Yeah, certainly. So workflow automation and background workflows have been instrumental in improving not only the customer experience, but the teammates as well. So from a teammate viewpoint, we have set up some background workflows which pre-populate specific data attributes depending on the product area the customer has a question about. So I mentioned before about skill-based routing and how we triage into certain product areas depending on the customer question. So with the pre-populated data attributes, on the right-hand sidebar, some certain reporting metrics that is used by senior stakeholders and general KPIs for teammates in the inbox will already be pre-populated. So when a teammate pulls a conversation, the right-hand sidebar with all the data attributes are already pre-populated. So the teammate does not need to spend additional time finding the correct product area and filling these out themselves. With this being all automated, they can spend more time not having to worry about the reporting metrics that are attached to these data attributes, and they can focus on the customer question and how best to respond to them. We also have a automated auto-close workflow, which works in the background as well. So this workflow, in essence, was set up to reach back out to a customer who may have been unresponsive to a teammate reply, just to make sure that there wasn't any additional information they needed to respond with, and whether the teammate's response did actually help the customer. By doing so, we are giving the customer a bit more time to respond to us before we automatically auto-close the conversation. So these are some additional, what would have had to be previously quite manual for the teammate to do, is now done in an automated fashion, and the teammates in the inbox don't have to worry about manually closing conversations that they've had with customers. While doing this, the automation also allows the customer to reopen the conversation, or if they don't need any additional help, they can have the option to just close the conversation themselves. So if the teammate says no, they don't need any more help, that workflow will just end, and then another background workflow would kick in, which would then ask the customer to provide some teammate CSAT on how the interaction was with that teammate. So all in all, there's a number of different background workflows that can be customizable and can work alongside each other using tags and different data attributes, which will identify when they need to be kicked off.
As someone who's been at the forefront of this evolving role, where do you see the future of conversation design heading, especially in relation to AI and customer service?
So this is a pretty big one, and I'm really intrigued to see where AI will get to. But I believe an increased personalization through AI will be the next step. So AI-driven conversation design will increasingly leverage customer data to create personalized interactions. This means not just addressing customers by their name, tailoring conversations based on their past behavior, their preferences, and also their present situation. As AI systems become more sophisticated, they'll also be able to anticipate customer needs and offer proactive support, creating a seamless and deeply personalized experience. Context-aware interactions, I think, will also be the future of how AI interacts with customers. So AI systems will become more adept at maintaining context across multiple different interactions and across multiple channels. So this will allow for an omni-channel experience where customers can pick up a conversation where they left off, regardless of the platform or device they're using.
Well, thanks for providing us with all of this insight and joining us on the podcast today, Fred.
It's been great chatting with you today, Beth, and thanks a lot for having me.
Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter at intercom.com/blog/newsletter to stay updated with the latest trends in customer service and support. Make sure to check out our sister podcast, Intercom on Product, for insights into product design and development. You can find it on your preferred podcast platform or by visiting intercom.com/product podcast. You'll find all the links in the episode description. Thanks again for watching and see you next time on The Ticket.